Hello, I'm Yvonne Mitchell. I'm a graduate of International Business Communication at Ulster University at McGee College. And having worked in corporate life and led wonderful teams for many years, I decided to set up my own business, Out of the Box Consulting, 7 years ago, based in Northern Ireland. In my organisation, we work with ambitious companies, helping them focus on their strategy, where they are and where they need to get to, and the journey to get them to where they need to be. Working on them to build great organisations, mentoring and training team members as they move more into management, evolve into leadership, as well as working on crafting great communications within their organisation, which are fundamental for business to have in place. So today I'm going to talk to you about the ABC 100 concept. And I would encourage you to take notes, because my experience over the years has been that it is when we write some of the things that we hear that they resonate more, and they also act as a source of reference for us down the line as well. And I'm going to talk as well about some tried and tested techniques that you can use whether your business has managed to flourish in recent months or whether indeed you're in recovery or rebound mode. So are you ready? So let's go. We're going to go with 3 A's, 2 B's and a C. And the first A is going to be with attitude and mindset. This is absolutely key. So what are you listening to? What are you reading? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you giving awareness to today? What WhatsApp groups are you in? Are they uplifting you or are they deflating you? And if it's the latter, it's really time to shift gear and get focus on those things that are really going to energize you and enthuse you. Like, you think back to the time when you first set up your business. How did you feel? Excited, a little bit anxious perhaps? But really you were motivated and inspired to move forward. Well, you want to get to that really good place and propel yourself forward in the coming weeks and months to get your business into an absolutely fantastic place there. It's really important because the energy that we bring and that we have within ourselves is the energy that we bring to an organization. So really getting that right and focusing on those things and those people that bring us to a positive place is absolutely paramount today. And it's also really important that you give yourself time to think, that you shut off all that noise that might be going on around. Turn off phones, turn off laptops, and just stop and reflect. Because it's then in those times of quiet that often we can come up with some of our best moments and best ideas for ourselves that really brings us in then to the next A, which is to act, to actually do something, to get moving, to start making decisions about your business. You really need to kind of keep moving in a direction. But sometimes it's hard because in times of crisis, often decisions that can be made can be emotional or irrational. So how do we know that we're making better decisions in times like this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little framework with you that perhaps you can use. And what it helps you to do is to look at and gain clarity on the decisions that you have to make. So what I would ask you to do is to draw a quadrant. And in this quadrant, you're going to write will and won't, and do and don't. And then you're going to ask yourself, if I do make this decision, what will happen? And if I do make this decision, what won't happen? And if I don't make this decision, what will happen? And if I don't make this decision, what won't happen? Now, I would really encourage you to do this exercise with somebody else who really can help you almost map this out in quite a clinical way, but a very factual way, because when you capture all of this information, it really helps us overcome our habits sometimes of maybe responding in a typical way to solving a problem. And it's really important that we really map out all of the facts, and something like this really helps us to do that, because the next step then is, once you have clarified these things, is you actually get to the decision making stage, and then you map out the decisions that it is that you're going to take for your organization. And then, very importantly, when you reflect on each of these decisions, the third and very key part is to ask yourself why. Why did I make this decision over any other decision? Why this project? Why this initiative? why this investment over another investment, and really reflect on that, because the decisions that you make, these are ones that you want to stand you in good stead moving forward well into the future, not just for the now and the difficulties that you might be facing, but indeed in the longer term, to really thrive in your organisation. So it's key to get to that right. And it's also important to think about the decisions that you make, because by saying yes to one decision, you're essentially saying no to something else. So really focus in on those things that are going to really make most impact on your business and really drive yourself forward. So having done acted and assessed some of the decisions that you have to make, the next step really there is to formulate that into something, and to formulate it into my third A, which is an action plan. This is where you really need to know where it is you're going, where your team members need to know where you're going, because if everybody doesn't have a North Star to follow, how are they actually going to know where to go and what direction to follow? And this is key if you're working on your own or indeed leading your business, because that planning, you want to make sure that you're running the business and that the business isn't running you, and having a great plan in place really helps that you do that. When we're looking at action plans, there are many things that you can look at, and essentially you want to look left to right across your business. And one of the things that might also help you in this process is to undertake a SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis, again, is a simple tool that you can use that helps you understand your reality. It helps you assess your capabilities. It helps you understand the competitive landscape there. And it is something that, again, I would encourage you to do with others, preferably, who'll be really open and transparent with you in terms of the feedback that is being given and that's being provided. And that you also give them permission to be really open with you. And that when someone is speaking, you let them finish. It's not a defensive environment. It's a very constructive environment where flow, everything is allowed, everything can be said. And essentially what you're doing, again, you're doing a quadrant, and here you're working on your strengths. Here, your weaknesses or your areas for learning, as I prefer to call them. Here are your threats within your business. That can be products, competitive landscape, whatever it might be. And then the big one are the opportunities. And this is really important to think now about the opportunities, because really the world has shifted in so many ways. And if you think about really that landscape that we had 3-6 months ago may not necessarily be the same. And one question I would ask you is, do you want to go back to the way things were for you in your life and indeed in your business? And if you do, maybe that's fine. But what are the things that do need to change? What are the opportunities that exist in the world going forward? And does your product or your offering or whatever that might be, the service that you provide, is that still going to serve you well into the future there? So having done that exercise, having also reflected on the outputs from your decisions, the decision-making process, now it's time to really craft that action plan for yourself, where you are, as I said, looking left to right in the business. And fundamentally, I would always say, look at the people aspect of it. They are the core that drives the heart of your organization, that drives it forward. So you really need to think about, what investments do you need to make in them to drive them forward? In recent weeks, perhaps many of them have stepped up to a good place there. Has that been is that something that you can harness going forward? So think about those things, and when you do that, then you look about the functional things that need to be addressed in your business, whether that's your branding, whether it's your systems, whether it's your finance, your marketing, your communication, your supply chain, the innovation space, your online presence. Think about all of these things, and do think about mapping them out into a plan for yourself. What is it that you're going to do? When you're going to do it? How are you going to do it? What's the timeline around it? What does success look like for you? How are you going to measure it? And how often are you going to measure it? Because unless you're able to measure the success, otherwise you're just going to be busy doing things. It's not going to propel you forward. And focus, it might be a combination of things. That might be some quick wins for you, as well as some maybe longer term projects that you need to plan out and launch into, whether that be into the innovation space or whether it's being more efficient in your business. These are things to really tease out in that action plan for yourself. But keep thinking about, focus on the things that are going to shift the dial in your business. It's absolutely fundamental. Which then brings me to our B's. And in the B, for our Bs, the first one I would say is be brave. You very likely may have to make some challenging decisions, but the intent here is to make these decisions that really structure your business for the future, that it's a stronger organization and a stronger business going forward there. So you may have to make decisions around cutting products or services or otherwise in your business, making it leaner and more effective. So you really need to tease those things out, and don't be afraid to ask for help. There are many people out there who are very willing to help, whether that be in a mentorship type of environment, or indeed through enterprise centres or enterprise offices, Invest NI, Enterprise Ireland, Intertrade Ireland. There's many support organisations and indeed councils as well at local level running programmes that can help people on their journey here. So it is important to feel and to give yourself permission to ask for help, because I think now is the time that we really are creating platforms to create products and services that we never knew needed to exist even 6 months ago there. So use this as a real opportunity for yourself. Be bold, and that's really where you're moving forward and tapping into that space and allowing yourself and indeed your teams, empowering them to help make some of the great decisions that are required within your organization. It's really key that you make employees feel that they have a voice in your business, that you are open to ideas. So perhaps in the past, when people came and gave you some challenging ideas, perhaps your response was, yes, thank you, but maybe now just maybe stop and reflect and use a technique sometimes called yes and, where you literally listen to what's being said to you and say, okay, yes, let me give that a little more thought, and perhaps we can tease that out a little bit more, and perhaps you might come back with some ideas that we can discuss even further there. So be open-minded, as I said earlier, and that really can help you again moving forward. As we then move into our C's, which is absolutely fundamental for me and businesses, is communication, and to communicate. I cannot overemphasize this enough. Like, so many studies have shown that communication is fundamental, and it's a huge factor in great successful organizations there. And think about the people and the entities that you need to be connecting with. And if you think about your own people again, think about listening to their needs. Really think about tapping into what are the things that are on their mind at the moment. Empower them. Be flexible as well. These are changing times. People are really having to manage so many things, their work, and in many cases indeed homeschooling, as well as caring responsibilities there as well. So I would encourage you to have that flexibility, and to really, it's also good to though set the expectations as well, and then put it to your team members. Say, this is what I expect, ideally this is when I would like it. Can you go figure out when and how you can actually make this happen for me? In doing that, that really increases trust between team members and managers in a business there, and really can set that landscape going forward. So have that two-way communication channel open. And also, I would say at the moment, communicate often, early and often with people. Even if you don't have all of the answers, people will appreciate that as well. Then as we look then beyond the people, your team members, then look at your clients. Think of the language that you're using with them. Think of them, maybe do you need help, to maybe how can I help? And even just shifting that conversation piece can often open up even more opportunities for you in your business there. Think about your suppliers. If you happen to have tough conversations with your suppliers, perhaps you need to negotiate sort of some protracted payment or repayment terms. Do that. Please don't stick your head in the sand, and again, don't be afraid to reach out for help there. And then do reach out to your networks as well that you might have for help, whether that's family or friends, or or anyone across the professions there. And finally, we come to the 100 part. So this for me comprises two aspects. One is creating a 100-day plan, and earlier we spoke about our action plan. I would encourage you to think about making this 100 days so that it's time bound to some extent for yourself there. It's a tool often used by companies when they buy other companies in mergers and acquisitions. And it really helps really set the language and the tone and the message and the actions for where a business needs to get to in the first 100 days. Often it's something I encourage new leaders to use as well, and it keeps them very focused in that first few months in their new leadership position as well there. The second piece to the 100 piece is to consider doing one thing different each day for the next 100 days for yourself. That could be something very simple, whether it's getting out of bed 15 minutes earlier, perhaps recording a podcast, listening to a webinar, reaching out and connecting with a contact, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, that you haven't connected with, because relationships are more important now than they ever were. So it's really important that you're using this as an opportunity to do that. So a quick recap of our 3 A's, 2 B's and a C. Our attitude and mindset: surround yourself with people that will really make you shine and encourage you moving forward there. To act, you really want to look back in a year from now and you will wish that you would have started today. So get moving today. Then the third one then is getting your action plan together. Be brave, be bold, communicate there. And most especially, I wish you every success in your business.